This is probably the first reading I've ever done where I'm sober. So, yeah. So excuse me if I'm awkward up here. But I think this is a good time, a good day to not stand up here and be, what's the word I want? A little bit in my own self. I wanted to be present here with everybody because it's such a small space, and I wanted to thank MG and Joel and Kimberly for allowing me to be here with them, and to Malvern for allowing us the space to be here. This is there's a lot of stuff going on today, you know. And so I also want to thank everybody that's here, because there was a lot. If you're from Austin, you know that there was a lot of other stuff going on. Naomi Klein was speaking at UT. Eileen Miles is reading a book woman. You know, everybody has other stuff to do. So I also want to thank everybody that's here, especially my friends that are here. Y'all are really great. Thank you for coming. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's been happening and continues to happen, and so I kind of wanted to, like, I actually don't have a lot of poetry to read, so I feel like I can talk a little bit. But one of the things I think I wanted to contextualize about the pieces that I have for tonight is to talk about this idea of community, and because, you know, many of you I do not know, many of you I do know very well, and, you know, by virtue of being in this space together, we are now like a small community that will continue on, you know, when Joel and MG move on to Martha, and when everyone like disperses and goes their separate ways. We'll still have the connection of being here in this moment together. And I thought that was important to recognize, because, you know, it's Veterans Day. So we were talking about, my friends and I, before we came here, the obligatory Veterans Day recognition. So I do want to shout out to veterans. But I also wanted to, this idea of community also extends, you know, beyond just that, and beyond just like this small space. Hopefully everybody has been paying attention to stuff that's happening. And so I also wanted to kind of mention the stuff that's happening right now in Missouri at the university, and like those students that have been organizing the Black for Women that helped really pull that together. And also like kudos, you know, to the graduate student who went on a hunger strike, and to the football team, you know, to those guys who really could have lost a lot, but also recognized, you know, the potential of Black labor and what it would cost, because they knew at the end of the day that was going to be the bottom line, to get the university to listen. So I want to also, you know, recognize that that's part of the world that we're living in right now. That's part of this community also. And one thing that I'm very interested in is the idea of borders, and borders as a space, borders as a geography, borders as a political idea. And that's kind of what I have to read tonight. And so I'm very invested in community, and I'm very invested in dismantling borders. So I want to read a few poems about that. The first one is called When Borderlands Are Burial Grounds. Netanyahu skipped Nelson Mandela's funeral as Palestine's heart shrinks and her belly grows fatter with the corpses. Opaque of rockets bounce off the water. The bodies are still smoking, pushed along the West Bank. Sometimes they are bagged and buried. Maybe they recalled a last kiss. Maybe they recalled a grocery list. Maybe they were children just playing on the beach. And maybe tomorrow we won't even remember their names. Maybe tomorrow there will be 43 more. And maybe tomorrow Palestine will mourn Ayotzinapa instead. If asked the difference between a dead Israeli and a dead Palestinian, between a dead Mexican and a dead young black man, Mandela probably would have said that the thing that we all share is that all of our bodies can be measured for coffins. This one is called Body Counts Can Be Touchy Subjects in What Is. The floodlights illuminate the chain links of corpses spaced out across the desert along the spine of night. So let us call the desert a woman, the dunes of femurs and tibias, the pyramids of Sierra, the San Agustin, the bones teach the stars how to decompose. This one is called Soliloquy of the Border. You are the border, and the first thing you see is water. And there crouched figures. They search for a better spot. You are the border. The first layer is skin, to stop the open wounds, to stop fingerprinting your lips, to stop swallowing the bodies down your throat. And soon enough, you will be concerned with bacteria and blood trailing the current to make that border. The bodies, the bacteria, the blood, where to find all the bodies. You are the border. At the same time that you exist, you are someone else's physics. A voice tells you you are the border. And later, much later, I drove across you, across the water, and there too I saw crouched figures. And I imagined Margarita with her one silver incisor, smiling on the last day that I hugged her. You know she died, and I etched her name on a bougainvillea we passed before the checkpoint. And you are the border, and yes, I loved you. Even with your scorpions and that sand picking the bodies clean, you gave me what I need. Judas ashes, silk on your hands. It's fine, you don't know which language is yours. It's better that I leave you, and I leave behind my last quarters, playing in the jukebox of the old Kentucky club. Here's the matchbox from the Corona Cafe, where I danced with a girl whose hair was on fire. I looked at the low number of missing women, and you do not know how to count. Your walls are not too well built, your graves not too well dug. The government went out of style. You, the border, at least you do not lie about where you come from. I just have, I have three more. These are a little bit different. Ask me, is she my lover? The wind skids, our oak tree bends over, the cotton crop dies that winter. So I cut my tongue off, like a shovel blade she used once, to rupture the head and the body of that skinny black garden snake I found in our driveway. She threw the two parts, still jerking, into the dumpster behind our house. December was a very dry month. Number 101. There is only one of you I love, of the million bodies that I desire. Do you agree? Along the river, it was hotter than our clothes could bear. They were sweating. Is that why we were naked? A flint of my skin drifts, shaved off by an invisible rock. A turtle swam past, snapped at my flesh, and you laughed. The rivulets of red shook the surface, and I loved you more. The scar underneath my foot, just a portrait of July in Texas. And the last thing I want to read is actually not mine. A few weeks ago, I had a young man from McKinney, Texas, randomly find me on poetsandwriters.org, and he sent me this email, and he wanted to do an interview with me, and was really puzzled by the whole thing because I've never had anyone contact me on that. And after some back and forth, I accepted that he was actually legitimate. He was not somebody that was making this up or making, I don't know. I don't know what I thought. I'm paranoid. And so, anyway, he wanted to do an interview. He's a high school student in McKinney. I don't know how many of you are familiar with McKinney. You probably saw it in the news over the summer for the policeman that attacked the children that were playing at the pool. Anyway, that's McKinney, Texas. It's near Dallas. And so anyway, he and I had an interview. We had a little chat, and it was incredible. He's like probably, I think he said he was like 17. He's a senior. He's a young queer black man in McKinney, Texas. And I think for whatever reason, he read some of my pieces and felt connected, so community. And anyway, when we were talking, I asked him, what is your plan? What are you going to do? Because he told me he wanted to be a writer. And so I said, well, what does that look like to you? And he said, and totally like in this very no-nonsense, matter of fact, and I 100% believe him, he said, I'm going to be the next Texas Poet Laureate, and then I'm going to be the next Poet Laureate of the United States. And then he said to me, because I really like Juan Felipe Herrera. And I thought that was so beautiful that this like young queer black kid from Texas, that stuck with him. And I know Juan Felipe is super nice. He's a wonderful person, and so glad that he is our representative right now. So anyway, Keith is his name. He sent me a poem, and I wanted to read it and share with you because he's probably going to be the next Poet Laureate of the U.S. I don't even have those ambitions. So I'm going to share this with you. This will be my last poem. It's called Scarecrow. I'm constantly searching for support. I noticed this after the first time I irresponsibly dropped my phone and then proceeded to have my mother pay for the replacement. I proceeded to have my friend take me to our choir concert that night. I proceeded to lean onto the strength of my shirt. I am a scarecrow, in need of a field to make people fear. I am parasitic relationships, though I appear to be kind, though I appear to be misguided, though I appear to be needy. Two of these things are correct. But what would you expect? My lack started at a young age. I was leading a role in a movie with too many unexplored plot points. It was unheard of that this disjointed body would know how to stand on its own 2 feet. I am nailed to a farmyard cross where I don't need my feet to hold me up. Which is to say, I don't need to stand. I don't need to demand support from side characters with a little too much to do. That's right, Dad. I'm talking to you. I'd like to imagine when I was born, when his eyes met my own, and he proclaimed, I'm a father. He saw the void in these null and void black hole eyes and thought he shouldn't bother. He wandered in and out 7 years on the question before he took my birth suggestion and C-sectioned himself away out of my life. I'm simply overseeing a field too bright, growing green greatness. How could I forsake this? How could I leave a growing life? I thank this scarecrow body for teaching me what being a father feels like. Birds land occasionally, but they know it isn't right. The sun may set, but night and day are spent every way, watching absently with certainty. I'm being a father, right? A father's need to comfort and other women and their wives' paychecks, yet I am a brainless scarecrow, so it's probably suspect. I've thought this through. I'm supposed to be helping things grow. I'm supposed to be here for this field. Maybe if I had a body, I'd be helping more than I already do. Because really, what more can a scarecrow do but watch? This field's grow without him, but watch. The field's growing without him, but watch. This field's grown unruly without him. And the worst part is that when the field refuses to fit the image intended, the scarecrow has nothing to amend. Scarecrows can pretend this unruly growth isn't a responsibility of their own, but when you watch hands toil and take from the earth, can you blame it for growing on its own? The field has stolen nutrients and pesticides and pestilence, and it has stolen the legacy of penniless responses to a hungry rapport. That's right. I brought up child support. Not that the lack of love and warmth, understanding, and presence are to be forgotten. It's just, I wonder if the field wouldn't have grown so rotten if it had someone to tend it. Thank you.